1, 2, 3, 4.
In this podcast, you will hear Knights of Vader. Knights of Vader includes, but is not limited to, talk of Star Wars, not ray guns. We can't truly prepare for the jump that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox reports they are divided. Prequel, sequel, and love they fighted. I know that we are just musicians hired, and their time is up, so here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
A big thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. It is January 31st, 2022. My name is Zach Weber, joined by possibly a newly discovered Bengals fan?
No,
Zenger.
man, I have been a fan long enough, man. We earned this. We're there. Woo! Can't wait. Yeah. Go Bengals. Who day?
And Joe Yazzo.
Hey, how's everybody going?
And we have, as Russ once put it, the Porteous with the Mortius. Chris.
Happy to be here to discuss Von Braun wheels and other generic space megastructures.
And we have Russ Ryan.
Hey, chuta. How rude.
Hello, Chris and Zenger and Joe and Zach. Thanks for having me back. I always accidentally call the show Mando, so I'm going to let that rule today and just say thanks. It's good to talk another episode of Mando.
Yes, we are talking about the Mandalorian Season 3 pilot. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't know it was possible for a third season of a TV show to have a pilot. Has that ever been done before in the history of TV and television? Because this is quite the novel thing when it comes to a Star Wars nonsense.
I mean, did we really need who was demanding we needed this? It's
Disney shareholders.
Oh, them, of course.
Well, the 8th season of the Clone Wars had a pilot.
Oh yeah, it did.
Was that would it be the Bad Batch? Was that considered that?
Yes. But that at least was a new show. Think about it. We were basically this was episode 1 of season 3 of The Mandalorian, right?
It has to be. Yeah, it maybe it's some kind of deal they made to look, you cannot let The Mandalorian be forgotten this long.
Well, even on top of that, it's the notion of that this entire, I guess, chapter feels like 2 episodes combined, because the first half is obviously him reuniting with the Armorer and the Favrelorean, and then the latter half of it is him with a Space Amy Sedaris building a ship. It feels like oh god, what they used to do, they released 2 episodes of something. I think what was it, Rebels and Clone Wars would do that. When they would debut a new season, it would be the first 2 episodes, they're airing back to back on Disney XD. And that's what this felt like. It was we're giving you a sneak preview of Mando season 3 in this episode of the Book of Boba Fett. And it makes even more sense considering that there's 7 chapters in the Book of Boba Fett, an odd number, which is peculiar. You could, again, I don't know why this wasn't an extra little bonus at the end of the series, other than the fact that clearly Mando's going to show up in some capacity when it comes to the finale of this series, whatever we want to call it as of now.
I feel there was enough stuff hanging around and going on that they needed to kind of address what he was up to. Because if you just had him show up, I mean, this answered a lot of questions. This wasn't an episode of Mandalore. This was a Mandalore episode. It had a lot of Mandalore in it. Get it?
And
Zenger looked directly into the camera when he said that.
I looked down, just straight down the barrel of that camera. No, I mean I loved everything about this episode. I was joking earlier. I'm going to continue to joke now. Show on VH1, best week ever. I think I'm having it. Bengals won. Fantastic episode of Book of Boba Fett. Fantastic episode of Peacemaker. Gotta say, really ranked up there last week for me when it comes to television and stuff. So
can I just real quick say, don't watch Peacemaker with your kids.
Yeah, don't do that.
7, because I did that. And anyway.
Show them
you
the.
can see a lot more John Cena's body and other parts that you didn't think you would see.
Russ, is
Show
it true
them
that
the-
Wookiees have teeth in their butts?
Yes.
I can't believe I was that close to a ride. Have you ever seen a Chewbacca?
I'm
Zenger's
just
about to have
gonna
an
follow that up.
aneurysm. Zenger's about to have an aneurysm.
Because I'm like, I was gonna say something like, nope, I don't want to be the person to talk after that. But no, I mean, this was a phenomenal episode. We got a ton of stuff in this episode, and was a true, in my opinion, love letter to everything good about episode 1. If we just had Darth Maul somehow showed up, it would have been perfect. I don't know how, but
Darth Maul shows up to tell Mando to bring the ship to Dathomir.
yeah, it would have been a perfect episode. It was great. Now allow the rest of you guys to rate on this parade. Go for it.
Well, I'm curious. Okay. Zenger's clearly happy with it. We'll save the typical naysayers for last. Russ, what did you think?
Chris and Zach, by the way, are the typical naysayers, which will they'll have the same opinion, nod at each other, agree, and shake hands.
Chris is my proxy. If that's not blatantly clear when I'm not involved with this, like, I don't know anybody ever truly understood me. But Russ, what did you think of Chapter 5, aka Season 3, pilot episode of The Mandalorian?
Okay, so as far as this episode, I really, really love the beginning. I feel like the end parts with Pelly, it just took a little too long. Like, we've seen Mando build ships in montages already. This seemed a little more extended than that. But some of that opening walkthrough scene, I gotta say, I've recently had become a sucker for those Star Wars walkthroughs that we made fun of for, like, why does this exist? Why is this on Disney Plus? But I kind of really like the landscape ones and that whole long scene of him going through that club and going through that elevator and showing, like, this wheel that they're on, the halo or whatever. That was great stuff. I mean, I was just pulled into that feeling. It did look like some kind of it looked like some of the things we've seen are like the canceled Boba Fett game or something, like kind of stumbling around a place like that. Very, very cool intro. The end was a little longer than it needed to be.
The end was a little bit longer, you said?
I guess the building part, it just felt so long in this. I mean, it was cool and all, but
he has to earn. He has to earn that they built that. It has to be earned. It can't just be given.
All right, Joe, what did you think of Season 3 Mandalorian pilot?
I think they put it in there because if they put it in as episode 1 of season 3 of Mandalorian, they're going to be like, well, this is out of sequence.
True.
So this way he could actually start on his journey to, I'm thinking next episode is going to be him seeing Grogu. At least half the episode.
Or are they going to save that? I don't know. Are they really going to do that?
Yeah. Well, what are they going to do? How is he going to, is he going to be back in the fold of this Boba Fett season? He can't just become just Mando now.
I'm going to quickly say they're no Din next episode. He comes back for the final episode. That's my prediction there.
Does he come back alone?
Oh, man.
Yes.
No, because it was pointed out that the droid part was hollowed out. Why? That is a perfect spot for Grogu to fly in.
Yes, in The Mandalorian season 3.
Ugh.
And he's already got side missions. What, he has to go to the shimmering waters of Lake Mandalorian or something and bathe himself in there?
Unless it's going to be another building episode where he's sitting there and recruiting the muscle that he needs. And then they have a way of going to season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. There's a lot of different things that they could do. They could drag this thing out for a long time. You saw what Fennec, whatever her name was, robot lady,
Mulan,
going to get the Mando, and then the next episode you're probably going to see Boba Fett going after and seeing his old bounty hunter friends, and then it's going to allude to a big battle at the last chapter. I don't think it's going to be you're going to see Mando in the last episode. I don't think you're going to see that battle.
So you think they're going to save the big climax of this for another season?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be building and building and building. I did like the 18 montage of them building the fighter. That was pretty nice and call back to the 80s. Except there's no explosions. People like flying out of everywhere.
Lots of droids, though. I think Pelly has just become the official merchandising droid collector. Like, if you can make a thing of a droid, she has it. Now she never did have the little Fallen Order guy before, right?
Nope.
Well, that's okay. This is a question now I was wondering while watching this. Is that like clearly she has R5, and we all know like
Jedi droid.
Yes, Force sensitive droid
Thanks
who fell on the sword. So R2D2 could go with Luke Skywalker. Is there a chance that's the real? Okay, I almost said real. Is that BD1 from Fallen Order? Like, is there a chance like that's Cal Kestis's actual droid? And she's become like this wayward home, like Ross was saying, for like lost droids.
Yeah, she's got Treadwell too.
Famous droids only.
Yes, famous merchandising droids. Like BB-8's going to be there. Well, I guess. Well, maybe.
Well.
BB-8 hasn't been built yet, right? Like BB units really aren't.
Nope. It would have been built by now if we follow the Shattered Empire. No, not Shattered Empire. The book series, the trilogy of Empire's End.
That was the third book. What was that? What was that called? Chris. It's Chuck Wendig. Chuck Wendig. Speaking of disgruntled authors.
I got nothing.
Hold on.
Oh my God. Aftermath trilogy.
Aftermath trilogy, Star
Thank
Wars.
Thank you, Zenger.
Life Debt,
I
Aftermath.
I didn't have to use my phone. I wanted to know that.
And where's the other one?
Empire's End.
Empire's End. No, they're mentioned in there as something that's being worked on and something that exists.
How strange is that? Like this book that's set like 5 days after the Battle of Andor. We just invented BB units that will play a key role in
no
30 years from now to the date.
Here's the thing that they did with Aftermath. That book series was a shotgun. They loaded that with so many story threads they could pick up later and just blasted it into a canvas and said, well, we'll pick up those when we need to. Because they threw a wide net hoping that something might stick. Because there's stuff involving Vader's lightsaber. There's stuff involving Thrawn. There's stuff involving Snap Wexley really liking and loving droids and a old battle droid and everything. Like, there's so much stuff that throws out there, and none of it's picked up for the most part. But it's there if we need it. It's there if we need it. And then I guess all the stuff going on with Han and Leia, because Luke is nowhere to be found that entire time, because I guess somebody else had the rights to his story.
Isn't it funny that BB units were invented and Luke was already a dirtbag uncle like 5 minutes after the Battle of Endor?
You got it.
What? What is that? What do you mean the dirtbag uncle?
Like, he's just disappears right away. That's what I meant.
That was not the whole thing though of like his story, like post like Return of the Jedi's. Like, he goes to like seek answers about the Jedi Order. Like, that was what the Battlefront 2 campaign.
Yep.
That was like some of the weird, like, what was it? The oh God, they made it into like a manga eventually, where it was like the Legends of Luke Skywalker.
It's called a comic book. God dang it, Zach.
Yeah, it's just a sort of retroactive justification for his usage in The Force Awakens, because he was too distracting when he was a larger part of the script. Yes.
There you go. Perfect. Now I gotta remember how to play Fallen Order.
Well, okay. Get us back on all this. So what did we think of the fact that, like, out of like, oh God, what was that episode? That was episode 3 of The Mandalorian, season 1, where we had the army of not Boba Fett's like fighting the town folk, and apparently the only people that survived were the armorer and the Favralorian. Like,
the only ones that have survived that we have come into contact with.
Well, from Navarro, from like the Navarro like sack of like ones from that first season. Like, again, we're told this is none of those. Like I said, for the record, I guess we didn't really. Joe kind of gave his passive thoughts on this. We'll get to Chris in a moment, but I enjoyed this. I thought it was a lot of fun, but like, it was felt very pedestrian Star Wars. Like, it did, like it was very pulpy. It was like a little fun ride, but it kind of reminded me of every reason why I disliked season 1 of The Mandalorian, where like it just feels just like oh God, it's like Breyer's ice cream level. Like, yeah, it's fine. Nothing to get excited about, but it's fine. It just like it rang hollow. It felt like we're just kind of like chugging along for the sake of chugging along. It didn't have that same sort of oomph that like the latter half of season 2 of The Mandalorian had. But Chris, please tell us, what did you think of this?
It's not the BD1 unit. The BD1 unit has red accents on it. This one had like gray.
Okay. Because paint clearly doesn't exist in Star Wars.
It doesn't. I'm customizing mine to have yellow.
That's what I'm saying. You can change it in the game. So yeah, like I'm kind of with Russ on this one. I think there was like the whole first bit on the I don't know if it's a ring world because you only see a little piece of it. It might be a big horseshoe or something. But that stuff was great to me. You could sort of see the seams of the volume when he's sort of going in and out of the elevator, and like something just looks a little synthetic about it, of course, but I really liked the style of that, and I loved his sort of approach into the new covert. I thought that was, and like when you first see the armor, that's great. The armor was amazing until she started talking in this episode, as far as I'm concerned.
Why? Okay, I have to dig deeper on this. Why, Chris? Elaborate.
No, don't antagonize him. Don't.
The armor is like the dumbest character in Disney Star Wars. Like
what the crap?
She makes no sense at all. She literally tells you about the tragedy of Bo-Katan. I love how like Bo-Katan's like, because Bo-Katan's like 60, even though she looks 35, like she has like legends about her. but she's like, oh, she's part of this royal family and she was supposed to rule Mandalore, this and that. So she's talking about Bo-Katan with like some level of reverence, even though she like, obviously it's like she screwed up and didn't win the dark saber in combat. But she's not talking about Bo-Katan like she's hot garbage, like say someone who might have taken off their helmet once. You know, I just don't understand her. And this is, of course, exposition armor in this episode tries to clear up a lot of stuff, because you know they look online and they're like, well, the nerds have been complaining about the fact that Sabine just gave the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, and we said, without thinking about that, in the end of Mandalorian Season 2, that it has to be won by combat. So we better just throw in a line here explaining why that's the whole reason why. And this feels to me like they're just going to completely abandon the sort of Bo-Katan retaking Mandalore storyline, because this just throws that all under the bus. Like, she's not even a worthy ruler anyways, so we're not going to think about her anymore.
Well, like, something that's always bothered me since season 1 of The Mandalorian is the whole idea of they've kind of changed the wording on this, because originally they kept saying like the siege of Mandalore, which was the thing that happened at the very end of the Clone Wars with like Ahsoka and Darth Maul and all that. And now it's like, oh, it's the purge of Mandalore. It changed. Because if you think back to your Rebels timeline of Mandalore, like it was what, season 3 where Sabine gives the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, and you have the whole thing about that. And then like we see the Terminator flashbacks in this, which I'm kind of dying to know what Chris thought about Terminator flashbacks. And it's like, oh, so like we always kind of knew the Empire went like nuts on Mandalore, but
well, they went nuts enough to use actual nukes, which is like something you don't do in Star Wars. Like nuclear weapons exist, but they preferred to use lasers because it didn't decimate and destroy landscape to the point that you couldn't inhabit it. So they obviously really wanted to make a point on Mandalore. Also,
I'm not sure those were nukes. Like that's like a sports arena. That's like a sports arena, and it took like 100 of them to blow it up.
Also,
it was like a fusion reactor.
Also, I just want to point out that I currently am holding both my Bo-Katan and Armorer to show Chris that I am in support of everything this had. By the way, thank you, Zach, for getting these for me.
Sure. If only I knew at the time about the Bengals. If only I would have gotten Zenger part of a Bengals jersey.
You need the whole thing, man.
Hey, man, those figures weren't that expensive. But no. So, Russ, what do you think about this whole Mandalore thing? Like, what were your takeaways from it?
from the whole Mandalore, the Mandalore of it all. I do like that we got to see, an actual fight between these guys, and that's not Favreau in the suit, right? It's just his voice, right? He's not doing anything, huh?
Have you seen the stature of that character? Would you be surprised if that was him in it just for giggles? Would you be considering that he's like in every Spider-Man movie? Would you put it past him like to have the opportunity of wearing Mandalorian armor?
I mean,
I don't know.
Not. I have seen pictures of the actor. He's got like a very strange mustache from what I've seen. So that's why I don't think it's him, but
I don't know. It's much like how like we don't know. I would imagine like Pedro Pascal was not in this episode at all. Like based on what Chris has told me and like how like his schedule's kind of all over the place and some of the like body movements of Mando did not match up what we've seen in previous episodes. I'm just like, yeah, this is one of those times where I think it's kind of transparent that it's just like ADR.
I forget his name, but the stunt actor who plays Favreau is credited in the show end.
Okay, then I take that back. Then it's just the voice.
Okay, but I like that this is happening. But it was cool watching him actually wield the sword, or at least try to wield the darksaber. Kind of wasn't expecting that as much. It seemed like Gideon had a pretty good time with it, so that he kind of struggled with it. There's a cool little thing to it, and I like that we're setting up more with Grogu. What is the armor supposed to be? So they made armor for him, right? Is it just like a little chainmail vest that they make him? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's chainmail, like, that Lord of the Rings thing that Bilbo gives Frodo. It's going to be something like that, a little pathetic little chainmail thing.
A thing of mithril armor.
It's a chain. It's a necklace for his shifter knob and the Razor Crest.
I like that one actually more.
Anything other than chainmail looks just so damn ridiculous. I think that's what it would be. Like, they can't put anything on his head.
It has to be something they can merchandise. It has to be something that you can then go to buy on shopdisney.com or somewhere. It's got to be a piece of merchandise.
Grogu Toys already had the sort of Mandalorian logo medallion, so it can't be that. So I'm thinking Russ is right. It's chainmail for sure.
I mean, I hope there's something more to it than that. He's gonna look like a little village person or something. He's just like dressed like he's like a bondage Grogu or something. It's gonna be weird.
Well, there's also this element too, like to get back to like if we see any more of Mando beyond like Boba Fett's like conquest in this, is like Chris, you probably remember like summer of last year, there was like a Trends International poster going around of like Luke Skywalker helping Grogu build a lightsaber, and that was like officially licensed. So Russ looks perplexed. It's could it be that? Could that have been something? I don't want to say it was leaked, but just like something that was just kind of coming down like the pike, and we don't know, like, could it have importance? Like, or was that eventually debunked?
Surely you're not implying that Grogu will have a lightsaber anytime soon.
Oh, they have to. Think of the money. Yoda had a lightsaber.
Yoda was 10 times Grogu's size.
We don't know how much time has elapsed.
Jet Lucas had a lightsaber. He was a little kid.
I think we have a pretty good idea of how much time has elapsed, and it's not much.
Do we?
The only place there is for a time jump would be how long did Boba Fett mess around before shooting Bib Fortuna?
What? That's a great question. We don't know how much time has elapsed. We really don't. Do we really know?
It can't be that long because the oh my gosh, Columbo. Pilot Columbo was like, I have some questions about what happened on Navarro.
Oh my God. So good point. Wow. Are they continuously successful at making X-Wing pilots the lamest jerks in the galaxy? So like Cope, the guy who's been at least like, it's almost not funny that these are the only two X-Wing cops in the galaxy, but
this is a different one. The other one we got is different now.
Yeah. The different one is Luke Skywalker's stand-in from the last episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, deep cut.
But the other guy is at least we last saw him on Tatooine. Otherwise, I'd be really annoyed. Like, if we last saw him, like, on the other side of the galaxy, but now he's bothering Mandalorian on Tatooine, that would be problematic. But at least we last saw him on Tatooine. But it's still kind of weird that they're, like, he's, like, the only guy.
Yeah, he's the
Columbo.
one. Isn't he the one who deputized Coruscant Dune?
Yep.
Rest in peace.
Was that on Tatooine or was that on Navarro?
That was on Navarro.
I thought that was Navarro.
Oh, man. So, never mind. It is stupid that he's over there. I forgot about not Tatooine Navarro. My bad.
You get the sand regions.
Well, you know, I'm sure it's in the Outer Rim, which coincidentally is also the largest ring of the galaxy since it's the outermost one. So it's really silly that Columbo is over there because, like, you know, what are the chances? Have they got maybe 20 X-Wing cops that all have their own region? If they got 20, the chances are pretty good that we'd be seeing somebody new.
Well,
so,
okay. In defense of the show, because I was wondering this, like when I was watching it for the first time in Mando's and the Naboo Starfighter, and he kind of like buzzes like the commercial transport. I'm like, man, that'd be illegal in real world. And then like he gets pulled over by the cops.
Thank you so much for saying that. I had the exact same thought. When he flew close to that commercial transport, I was mad. I was like, why are they doing this to me? They're making me think about the fact that he wouldn't be allowed to do that.
Well, that's the thing. And like, again, am I rationalizing it? Yes. But what it made me think of is that like Space Amy Sedaris says, she's like, oh, the Pikes are coming in here. So it would make sense if there's commercial transports that are probably based out of like the core worlds or the mid-rim, that the New Republic would probably grant them some sort of like security transport. So like, I could see that happening. I can buy it. I can buy it.
No, 100%. It just shouldn't be the same guy everywhere.
Oh, it's also entertainment. You gotta give them like at least it wasn't Cowboy Hat Man.
Yeah,
like,
I was about to say, would you have rather
Oh.
been Trapper Wolf?
Oh God,
Is it okay? That is his name, right?
Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't have rathered that. Yes, it is his name.
Wait.
You know, we should just you're making me realize we should just be thankful he literally didn't arrive on Tatooine on the same plane as the Pikes.
Oh, how do you know he didn't? How do you know he didn't?
Can you imagine if, like, when it shows him just like sitting in economy, like all pissed off, if there was just Pikes all around him, but he wasn't paying no mind to it because he didn't know that plot line yet?
so
Best episode ever.
Oh my God. Okay, what else? I guess there was a lot that happened in this episode, and I feel like we're kind of shortchanging it. Like,
my big thought on it is like kind of like what Russ was saying at the beginning. I think if they would have, like, who am I, right? But like, I'm thinking story structure wise, I would have put all this oddly boring stuff of him working on a Naboo starfighter up front with the purpose of saying like, so I got a rumor that the covert's established again somewhere out there, but I got no ship. So why don't I like put all that crap up front with the goal of finding the armor at the end? That would have, because that whole bit on the ring world was just so much more compelling to me, and it wasn't busy work like the Starship stuff was. Like, if you don't care about Naboo starfighters, the whole back half of this is like really like anticlimactic.
I disagree, because there's a whole it's one of those things where like it's the same thing that happened like in the immediate aftermath of The Force Awakens. I think you have a whole new generation of Star Wars fans that's going to look at Disney Plus era like Star Wars as their Star Wars. And I think the idea of him rebuilding his ship is going to be up there. Like, it's like one of those things. And I think again, it's probably Russ and Zenger can probably relate to it because they have kids of their own, but it's that like equivalent of like the kids are like, oh, look, Mando's like building his new ship again. And the whole time Russ and Zenger are like elbowing each other, being like, that's the thing from 1999. And I think that's the dual layer of it, Chris. Like we've never really even seen that in Star Wars, like a character like rebuilding a ship in that way, like reforging a new identity.
Except for the time that Mando already rebuilt his ship in a superior montage in Mandalorian season 1.
Because you gotta have a montage.
But that's the equivalent of like dropping a jigsaw puzzle and like putting it back together. There is a discernible difference.
That montage had soul, man. This one was just like, oh, let's have a flashlight gag. I cared about the Razor Crest more than this Naboo starfighter. I get it. Doug Chang is like when the top 3 people at Lucasfilm right now, we're going to put one of his original spaceships front and center. Like, cool. I just don't see narratively the relevance of like putting this at the back end after we got to see something really awesome, and that sort of had a character shift for Din.
It's that Mandalorian thing of what happened like in season 1, episode 1. Like, think about it. Episode 1 is like his entire thing, like, oh, he's got to find the bounty, like blah, 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 blah. And then we get the big reveal at the very end of, oh, it's a baby Yoda. And then the second episode is just basically him like on a side quest for an egg. And that's what this was. Like, this feels like 2 distinctly separate episodes combined into one. That's what this feels like.
Okay, which structurally is a weird thing to do.
It is. This is so peculiar, the fact that you have 7 episodes in the Book of Boba Fett, and one of them is entirely devoted to a character that is not the titular one. And B, the titular character is like the first build in the credits, which is fascinating. Like, I know it's a contractual thing, but still, it's just funny to look at.
So Boba's padding his own book at this point in this chapter where he's like, I'm just going to talk about my buddy Mando for a little bit here. It's a great book, Boba.
I saw a great meme, which was like Tamir Morrison's name screen capped, and the bottom was like Mari, and it was like, the lie detector test said that was a lie. It was good. But like, if you're saying it's like 2 episodes combined, like, narratively, structurally, it's just weird and wrong.
Well, think about like probably how that like, oh god, first episode would end would be with him like, oh god, probably with the armorer telling him he's been like exiled. That's probably how it would end. It's be like you get that equivalent of like being in like, oh god, high school, and the teacher's like, did you do this thing that you blatantly did? And it's like, yeah, I guess so. And she's like, well, you're not in the club anymore. Like, that entire thing you worked for the last 2 seasons, you're done. You're out. And then like, it's like, well, how do I redeem myself? You've got to go to like the water pits on the home planet. And like, that's how the episode would end. Like, that would be your.
No, it still ends with the space cops. He still gets pulled over and pulls away at the end. That happens after. That happens directly after he is banished. He also gets pulled over to add insult.
Yeah. Am I okay? Also, on the subject of the space cops and like the whole Naboo starfighter thing, am I the only like
space cops is such a thing now in the series too? Like, it's happened quite a few times. Never in Star Wars have X-wing guys have to been cops.
I'm sure that, like, you know, I'm going to reveal some of my general ignorance here, which about Star Wars isn't much, but I didn't realize that part of the Mos Espa pod race course was actually meant to be Beggar's Canyon. Is that because she says that's what it is right before he flies into it? And my mental image of Beggar's Canyon is based on Rebel Assault.
Yeah, it's just a straight canyon that goes on for miles and miles, and you shoot things in it relentlessly. Yes.
Yeah. And also he left from Mos Eisley, not Mos Espa, and he arrived at the Mos Espa pod race track in 2 seconds, but I guess that ship's really fast. So like, I also thought that was weird, but that just, I mean, this is the stuff I hone in on when I'm not being captivated by the direction of the character progression in the second half of an episode. It's like, technically that canyon is right beside Mos Espa, not Mos Eisley. So why is he going straight there from Mos Eisley?
I would imagine that like that shot from the Phantom Menace of Darth Maul, like with the binoculars, like he sees the 2 or 3 different cities. I would imagine we're supposed to assume that like all these cities are kind of like almost on top of each other.
That's a way more legitimate answer than I was expecting. That's great.
That's what that's what I'm guessing. Beggar's Canyon is one of those like moments where I'm watching this, I'm just like, I guess. It's like they haven't ever said it wasn't Beggar's Canyon, so
have they said it was though? That's what I'm wondering. I
meant prior to this. It's like, oh, like Anakin's thing, like during the Boonta Eve pod race. It's like, well, they never told us it wasn't Beggar's Canyon, so why can't they?
I thought Beggar's Canyon was the thing that like Luke and Ben Kenobi were looking at when they looked over at Mos Eisley. Like they're standing over that. For some reason, I remember that somehow being called.
Yeah, they're on a
Beggar's Canyon.
cliff.
I guess.
I'm just saying, if that's Beggar's Canyon, it's like too famous for Luke to have been just like BSing around there and shooting at stuff. Like the space cops would have come after him.
They were Imperial back then. They weren't messing around with little farm boys.
Exactly.
It sounded like a rural canyon when he mentioned it. You know what I mean?
In reality, it was just a piece of throwaway dialogue George Lucas wrote in like a fever dream in 1974.
Or there's a lot of beggars and canyons on Tatooine, and
no one can name anything. Yeah.
But in this, there's literally houses like built into the side of it. Like, it's not a place you should be shooting at wildlife.
But like, I know there's been a lot of like side to side comparisons of this footage from the Phantom Menace, and apparently those like little like carved into the canyon like side was there. It's just like weirdly like we're too busy gawking at like Aura Singh and the crowd of people like in like what stage right that we never really pay attention to that. So it was a detail that was there, and once again, it's a I think like you were saying, it's a Phantom Menace stroke job for better or worse.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that like in between this and The Mandalorian, they just basically directly screen reference stuff from A New Hope and Phantom Menace as if like no piece of building infrastructure has changed. Like there's a little post with a light on it that's like visible during the pod race, as you'd think something to sort of guide the pod racers on track, and that is still there. The little post in the sand.
Him destroying the barrier he destroyed still sitting there.
We also don't know if like the pod race changes, like maybe different venues. Like maybe after like Boom to Eve, it went somewhere else. Like maybe it's like a Super Bowl, to bring it to Zenger.
Yeah.
It is like that. The N64 game confirmed it.
Yeah. Didn't you ever play the famous pod racer game for Nintendo
I played
64?
Anakin, like I only played it on Tatooine. After that, I'm like, I don't want to play like a world I've never seen before. I want to do what Anakin does. So yeah, maybe that's.
But Malastare.
No, I didn't know what that meant back in the day. I'm like, what? Like, no, Tatooine. I want to play on Tatooine. Like, give you some of these other planets.
But it's Ree-Yee's homeworld, though. Come on.
If only that mattered to me when I was 7 years old. So
can I mention Green Rodians? Hold on.
Yes, please do, Russ. That was the highlight.
This was a highlight. This was hold on. Stop the presses. Record scratch. We've been talking about this. I think we're the only ones who cared to mention it every episode. They keep using that orange or pink Rodian or whatever constantly. We finally got our green Greedos back. A little green Greedo and a daddy Greedo.
Oh, we're not the only one who noticed. I don't know if it's kosher or not to reference other podcasts with far more listeners, but I simply must quote
ZengThis.
What the hosts of RFR said about the return of the Green Rodian. They said, finally, a Green Rodian on screen in the Disney era, as God intended. I thought it was great. He looks way worse than the child Green Rodian in episode 1. They should get their act together. He talks and his mouth doesn't move. Greedo's mouth moved 45 years ago when he talked. Get your act together, costume guys. But it was nice to see a Green Rodian.
Chris, they have to care first to get their act together. You have to realize that, like, every single time we like talk about one of these Disney Plus shows or whatever, or any Disney like Star Wars project, I think of that infamous like whiteboard from like the High Republic brainstorm sessions.
Dinosaurs.
That's what I think of. Like, it's a checklist. It doesn't matter if it's practical or if it works correctly. As long as they can check it off, they don't care.
I don't think that's quite how this level of production works.
Okay, yes. Armorer, Darksaber, Naboo,
episode
Starfighter.
It just says episode 1 at some point, and it's just like, you can scratch that off. We did it.
Trust me, I think if the writing process for The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett were anything like that behind-the-scenes peek into the High Republic creative brainstorming session, like, as much as I find things to complain about these two shows, it would be 1,000 times worse. First of all, none of those people have ever seen episode 1 who are suggesting dinosaurs. So, like, they wouldn't even reference episode 1.
Cowards. That's what they are.
Real quick, because like I know like we've never really done the High Republic any sort of justice on this podcast.
Why should we?
Zenger's the only person that's ever delved into it any like official capacity. Can we just talk about the fact that like this is something that like really never took off like as a major Star Wars thing, and yet Lucasfilm has really just kept with it? Like, it's the only thing we can think of, right? That they haven't abandoned when it didn't take off in a spectacular fashion.
Could you imagine if they just continuously funneled resources into a ongoing campaign of Shadows of the Empire in 1996, regardless of fan reaction? And everybody liked that.
Just think of any Star Wars project that was supposed to be this big epic thing that they, like, the moment it didn't become like a super duper success, instead of pulling the plug, they just kept doing it for better or worse. Because like
Force Unleashed.
Like that works well. After the second one, everyone's like, yeah, we don't need any more of this. Like the game ends on a cliffhanger. Yeah, we don't need more of this.
Pretty big
Vader's
one too.
Vader's locked in the box.
Hey, listen, that Force Unleashed 2, as much as it is worse than the first one, there's more like dramatic tension and pathos in that game. I almost said movie. That's how there's so much more. There's so much more dramatic juice in the Force Unleashed 2 than like anything we've got since. Like, listen, this guy's like, he realizes he's a clone, but he's like, does my girlfriend still love me if I'm a clone? Oh my God. That just the idea of, does my girlfriend still love me if I'm a clone of my former dead self? That is a deeper question than anything that's happened since 2015. I'm just saying.
But what's your name, love? Ray. I'm staring at the Force Ghosts as they magically appear in front of me. Ray.
He's trying to eat me.
I still love the meme of, what's your name? Boba. Boba the Hutt.
Oh my God. No. Okay. I guess I had to bring up that High Republican because apparently they're hyping up like phase 2 of the High Republic. I'm like we're not there yet. I'm like, we're still in phase 1.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you anything about it. I've seen that there is trade paperbacks out of the comics now. I opted for War of the Bounty Hunters companion instead of the first High Republic trade paperback. I don't know anything about it.
I'm not going to say don't buy into it, but it's one of those things. It was the most uninteresting. I don't know. It's a tough one because it's between that and the Thrawn Ascension trilogy, which is more mind numbing.
It's not okay. I Zenger, I think you might be okay. You clearly have delved more into this than I have. But from my, I've been trying to get into like that first High Republic book, and the problem is that it's so removed from Star Wars proper.
Yeah, it is.
It's basically like, this is where I'm surprised Chris hasn't tried it, because like it's actual like space fantasy science fiction. Like if it weren't for the fact that it had the word Star Wars on the cover, it's pretty much its own thing, and it's weird that like it hasn't gotten the respect it deserves, because it's so disconnected from Star Wars proper. The same goes for like the third Thrawn trilogy. Like it's so disconnected from Star Wars proper.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Science fiction.
I don't know how honest we want to get about this, but part of the reason why I don't particularly feel motivated to delve into it is some subset of the actual authors of this content have essentially said it's not for me.
That's the vibe I kind of got from it when it first came out. But I mean, I think it can exist because it's like mostly just print. I mean, it's all just books and graphic novels and stuff. They could just pump that out. I think the same amount of people are going to buy that than anything else. So they want that content to put out.
It's also that, again, think about Star Wars Eclipse. Like that was a game that like before like Twitter tried getting it canceled, like what was the earliest release date for that? 2025, 2026. So clearly
ambitious.
Clearly this was something they were going to try. They were thinking long term with this. Like, think about it. Like High Republic started at the beginning of 2021, and this game wasn't going to be released until like what, 25, 26. That's basically almost as long as like the existence cycle of the sequel trilogy. Like that's kind of like for Lucasfilm to think that long term. Again, it's the same studio that's canceled how many films. And yet they're actually, again, they're probably never going to see it. Eclipse will probably never see completion, but they at least had the idea of seeing something long term, which is a pretty novel concept for them.
Zenger, correct me if I'm wrong, but that studio is sort of known for story games that are basically movies with multiple choice options, right?
I was watching a reviewer for some reason talk about Detroit, which is one of the game Become Human, which was one of the games that the most recent one they did. And they said they feel like the makers of the game really want to do movies, but aren't willing to do them yet. And then he's like, at this point, I feel it'd be easier to do a movie than put the effort in you have into these. They're good games. They are phenomenally good games, but you're playing a movie. Not like Jedi Fallen Order, which I get to totally become Kyle Kestis.
Kyle Katarn, Kybo Ren.
Whatever.
Kybo Calrissian, yes.
My point with that comment was that if it is indeed in the style of their previous outings, I think it would be something that could be wrapped up in terms of production a whole lot faster than an actual video game.
Yeah. And this is the first time they're doing something within the realm of a established IP. Everything else has been their own little world and everything. So that's what I was excited about. Was I always wanted to get into their games, but it's just, since it's not an established IP, it takes me a while to grasp onto the world. But yeah, like I said, I want to give the next book a try for the High Republic. I just, due to me sitting around with like 5 credits available to me for Audible, I still don't have the urge to do that. And like I said, it pains me to say this, but the Thrawn Ascension, it's Zach, I think, described it perfectly, and he might correct me on this. In a world of everyone being Thrawn becomes less interesting. Because basically every one of his species is pretty smart.
Well,
even the lady at the Galactic Star Cruiser?
Yeah.
That's not a chiss.
Oh, sorry.
Jeez, Ross. We have to boot you from the call now for that. What a novice. We got to talk about that too. There's a couple of things we got to talk about. But no, the thing, Zenger's right. Like, again, I have all 3 of the most contemporary Thrawn trilogy. I'm losing track. There's like 3 Thrawn trilogies now.
Non-canon, good one, and no one cares. That's the order they go in.
To this day, I still think Thrawn Treason is like probably my favorite Star Wars.
Oh my god!
Baby Director
Treason.
That's baby Director Krennic.
I was about to say is Alliance is the second one.
That's the Vader one with like flashbacks to him and Anakin, and it kind of just that's where Anakin basically like commits genocide on a city, and Padme and Thrawn just kind of like shrug at the end, and like, yeah, that's good.
They seriously just sit there and watch it happen and go, huh. Neat.
It's funny. It's really bizarre way to end like a story, but it's amazing.
That's thoroughly in line for Padme's character.
Padme doesn't care. That's kind of the most interesting about like Padme outside of the movies, is that like Anakin does all these things and she's just like, yeah, it could be a problem. She's like, where's that kid? He hasn't been kicked in a while.
Yeah, she's thrown into war as a little kid. She didn't care anymore. She's seeing guys with laser swords and stuff.
But no, like Zenger said, yeah, Thrawn kind of like not being unique. But there's also, again, this is my question maybe for like, considering that we're getting toward the end of the Book of Boba Fett, and we really, the next show after this is Bad Batch, right? That's the next show.
It's not Kenobi or something? We're not getting anything into
I don't think so.
Ahsoka.
The rumors on the street is that we might be getting a Kenobi premiere around May 4th.
I read that somebody like did the math on that for like when Moon Knight is supposed to be like doing episodes, and like there's not going to be a because of that timeline, Moon Knight wouldn't be finished by May 4th, like doing its like episode run. I think what I think is going to happen is we're going to get probably a trailer for a lot of this on May the 4th. I think probably Bad Batch will debut at the end of May. Probably another one of these probably the 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones or something. Like that'll be like the debut of the Bad Batch season 2. Something I don't want to say underwhelming, but just kind of like enough. And I could see I don't think they're gonna blow Kenobi easily. I think that is their main thing Star Wars wise for this year. And you're not gonna get like a debut or a premiere for that until Star Wars Celebration later this year.
I must not be a typical audience member, because
you are not, Chris. You are not.
I couldn't for the life of me tell you what Moon Knight is, and I'll certainly not be watching it.
It's Poe Dameron as Batman.
It's Poe Dameron as Marvel Batman.
I've certainly never heard of it, and I couldn't tell you what it's about, and I won't be watching it. And I think that there's some subset of the audience that is largely the case for. And not only that, though, but if I did know what Moon Knight was and I cared about it, I could make time for, 2 shows that have like 6 episodes each per season. I think that it wouldn't be a big problem for me to like fit those in my schedule if it actually mattered to me.
Yeah, well, us in the U.S. will all be howling at the Moon Knight when he's out, so we don't have time for anything like Obi-Wan Kenobi. No, of course not. Yeah, I agree totally, Chris.
Great. That was brilliant.
Do you guys remember early I feel like early talk of the Book of Boba Fett implied that it was only 6 episodes. Do you think there was a chance that this one that we just saw was sort of tacked on or like actually meant to be part of Mandalorian season 3, but they didn't know how they were going to air them? Like maybe for a time they thought they were going to alternate or overlap, like dramas in the 90s where they would have like spin-off shows like taking place simultaneously to other shows, where like for 1 week he would like visit another show, a character.
You mean like how on TGI Friday, like everybody visits everyone else's shows, and then
Precisely.
it really messed with the whole Tommy Wiseau, Tommy Westfall.
Yeah, like get your Tommy straight. That's a way different Tommy. Yeah.
So like Mandalorian is like Happy Days, or like Shirley's gonna have a show. There's gonna have all these different spin-offs and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely heard that Book of Boba Fett was 6 episodes for a while.
I'm almost positive.
I heard that too.
I still
Zach
think it's going to be
proclaims
6. I wouldn't even count this as in his book. His editor would be like, "This isn't even about you. Like your friend is in the end of it. Like, what do you mean? Why is this in your book?"
I'm pretty sure I remember Zach one time yelling vociferously about them adding an episode, or maybe that's just a fever dream.
Was this an hour ago? Was I yelling about this an hour ago? Because I'm pretty sure that's when it was.
Okay. Well, I'm just establishing that I'm not going crazy, so thank you.
Okay, so like a further nerd complaints about this episode. Like did you?
It was perfect. Give Bryce Dallas Howard a movie.
No, absolutely not. This was all done through like the visual effects coordinator and second unit. By all
Absolutely.
means. The only thing she should be doing is running away from dinosaurs.
Exactly, with high heels on, according to her.
Perfection.
But what you need to realize, which they've showed us explicitly, is that these episodes are animated down to the composition of the shot prior to production taking place. So what is a director on this? It's probably something similar to what a director on a episode of the Clone Wars would have been. Like you can maybe massage the dialogue delivery to some degree, but it sounds like an animatic is essentially approved by the high ups before a single camera captures a frame. But aside from that, like, did you think it was kind of weird that like Pelimoto seems to have no trouble contacting Mando to tell him about local classified listings for spaceships, but Fennec Shand has to like literally physically walk up to him to deliver a message.
Maybe it's something to where he gives like his personal ID to certain people so that they can get in touch with them quicker because he's actively looking for a ship as opposed to not actively looking to work with Fennec Shand and all them.
Even though he'll do it for free.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to do it for free. But he feels he needs to.
Well, Boba Fett, as we've established, did do him a real solid by weirdly committing himself to Mando's cause of returning Grogu to his own kind for giving back his armor, which he stole back and wasn't given back to him.
Yeah, they have a weird relationship. That's right. But it's, you're supposed to, it was very convenient at the time too. It's like, whoa, good thing Boba Fett's your friend because your ship just blew up that Hasbro just got sold a bunch of.
Yeah, man, I've been seeing some funny nerd complaints since the last couple episodes. Like, have you, like, I saw one that was like, well, if suddenly in canon Boba Fett's armor is actually Beskar, how come he's got a dent in his helmet? It should be basically indestructible. Why is there what dented his helmet when what's his name? When Cad Bane shot it should have dented that easily if it's Beskar. Hilarious, that fact that people are talking about that stuff.
Well, maybe it's the same thing as like bulletproof vest in the fact that like maybe they can be dented by like a physical object, but blasters and stuff like that don't affect them. Also, as a side note for legal reasons, I'm not saying to go try out bulletproof vests with knives.
Yeah, I'm glad you specified that because after our last episode, 4 people contacted me saying they shot themselves in the foot because water did not stop the bullet.
Perfect. Awesome. Science. Science, everybody. We have made it to science.
I'll stick with sand.
Gets everywhere.
Oh my jeez. All right. So I guess one question I want to ask Chris. Now that we have Mando's like customized Naboo Starfighter, when's the earliest do we get this as a toy, Chris? 2024 or 2025?
I'm going with never.
Really?
Yeah.
They could very easily charge $100 for this and people would buy
No
it.
way. This is going to be out for, I think, when the Mando, they're going to do a line of Mando toys that already know it works and they can sell it. That'll be that little ship. It's a little smaller, a little easier than having to sell a Razor Crest.
Like the little Mission Fleet ones?
They definitely will because Grogu's going to be in that thing and that everything is all about him now. So if they want that back, they want a spaceship, Grogu spaceship playset they can sell for sure.
I wasn't counting Mission Fleet. Mission Fleet, 100% you're getting it.
What about Lego? Oh, yes, Justin. Thanks for bringing it up. Yes, Justin.
Who the hell is
We
Justin?
I don't know why I'm referring to myself by my first name. That's even weirder. Yes, Zenger. Yeah, definitely gonna get a Lego
person. You're finally getting to.
Well, did you?
Sorry, I'm looking at Razor. I'm looking at my Razor Crest right now.
Zenger, did you see it? They just like I don't know if it had to be a leak. It's like the corridor with Luke Skywalker and the Dark Troopers.
Well, there's supposed to be another like helmet set, and they're actually doing the Luke's helmet for the X-Wing and Mando.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
Zenger, how many Lego Titanics have you bought?
Enough that I have almost a full-scale model of the real Titanic. Sadly, I'm throwing them all in the sea, so where they belong. They must go be with the other Titanic.
So just because we're talking about toys, I have to ask Chris. Chris, what do you think about like all these weird like Boba Fett figures that like Hasbro is just kind of like indiscriminately releasing, like whether it be through Walmart, Target as exclusives, and like I know like the collecting fan base is furious because like these things just randomly go up and they disappear, and then even like the not holiday special, the droids Boba Fett figure was like found in
what's the difference?
Yeah, I know. Well, the gun is slightly different. It's not the weird like Mando gun. Like it's like his actual like blaster.
For the real ones like you and me, Zach, we already have that gun, so we just need the new figure.
You're right. But no, the fact that like I know like even today someone found one of those figures like on a shelf in Target and everyone's just like furious that they're releasing product to stores without like fulfilling pre-orders first. Like
I got a Droids 3PO this weekend. I came across it at a local toy shop. I couldn't believe I actually saw one out in the wild.
Those haven't showed up in Canada yet. I'm pissed off about that, but we'll probably get them at Toys R Us. But on the subject of so I believe they've announced 2 different 3 3/4 vintage collection Boba Fetts that are broadly speaking related to the book of Boba Fett. One is basically the Mandalorian season 2 design. The other is closer to what you have in the current show.
Isn't there like also like there's the Tython one from him, like it's the Cobb Vanth essentially armor.
Yeah, so exactly. So basically there's 2, I think there's 2 only.
It's 3. No, because technically there's 3. There's Book of Boba Fett. There's like the re-armor version, like where he repainted the paint like after Tython. Then there's the Tython armor where like it's the really like beaten up like sun bleach paint chipped version. Like there's 3 different versions.
I've only seen a comparison between 2.
Well, yeah, but apparently they announced a new one today because like I saw a bunch of stuff being like, yeah, Walmart pre-orders go live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm just like, I don't care.
If that's true, then they've announced 3.
They have
that are essentially the same without any of them having been released yet.
Yeah, and there's no release date for any of these. Like it's all just like to be determined.
One of them has like Darth Maul pants, which I think is like the season 2 Mandalorian one, which is like not great for a figure because it's like big plasticky pants that like mess with the leg articulation, and they got rid of those for the Book of Boba Fett. So those ones are better, whichever one that's called, whatever space planet is attached to the name of that figure. The one without the weird extra pants blocking his leg articulation is the better one. So don't get tricked out there, guys. Go get that one because it has better paint apps anyway. But I love it. It's funny to me because I was listening to some of my other collecting focused podcasts.
Oh, the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, whatever that is. And the guys who like the Black Series stuff are like, "Oh my god, these look better than the Black Series ones." And like hearing their sadness in that comment like fueled my existence. Like I just loved hearing Black Series collectors being sad that the vintage collection looked better. If I see one of them, I'll probably get it. I don't need 3 different versions of this version of Boba Fett.
I think, well, okay, Chris, this is like, as Chris and I talk privately about like Star Wars collecting, and like, this is the question, because obviously Chris is someone who doesn't really, his focus isn't on the contemporary stuff as much as it is on things of yesteryear. But why is it that, like, and I get it, like pandemic, supply chain, blah, 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 blah. But like, there's so much just plastic that like Hasbro, Mattel, like, oh God, like Zenger can probably tell you the like Mattel, or no, the McFarlane like multiverse DC stuff. That's just like every single time I go to like a Target or a Walmart, there is new like DC McFarlane toys that are being sold, like are pretty immaculate. And they're being sold at a $20 price point, and they're always being replenished. They're always on shelves. There's no, like, everybody is selling them. They're always well stocked. And yet you have like Hasbro kind of sitting there in the corner, like just kind of like with their thumb in their mouth. And it's like what? We got 2 waves of Black Series this year? Like, forget about vintage collection. And it's like why is it that like they cannot like clear they could have easily sold cases upon cases of like Book of Boba Fett Throne Room Black Series for $30 each. There's no reason why this wasn't ready by like October.
It's great that you brought this up. So I have a Toys R Us story from literally today that I'll share with you. So like I was at Toys R Us in glorious Canadiana today, and I went there, and the price of the vintage collection has gone up since I was last in the store. So now I got a second IG-11 because I wanted one to open. You can see me messing around with that in the Knights of Vader Facebook group. I got a second IG-11 vintage collection, which by the way is better than the Black Series IG-11, 100%. And like I have a
Shade Throne.
Yeah, I have a carded one here, but like this figure is nuts. Like it has so much going on for it. It's got all kinds of arm articulation. The head is 3 parts. It's amazing. But the price I paid for it at Toys R Us was $28 Canadian, like after tax, for a 3 3/4 figure, which basically at this point, like there's no like, and I know it's interesting because you're sort of getting a look into the production of these things as a consumer, because as far as R&D goes and development, like just designing the figure, a 3 3/4 doesn't really, it's not any cheaper for Hasbro to develop a 3 3/4 figure than it is a Black Series figure. The same work goes in basically. So for them, it's an arbitrary consequence, the price point, because the plastic itself is like 2 cents of extra plastic, whether it's a Black Series or a 3 3/4. It's the design process that the
mold, right? Like the mold, right?
Exactly. So I get it. They should essentially be the same price because the difference in plastic is rather arbitrary cost wise. I prefer the 3 3/4 stuff just because I like the card back design and the fact that it doesn't totally overwhelm you spatially with it. But I mean, even with those sort of movie progression side, oh man, is there anything? I'm gonna maybe create some enemies here, but the fact that they made Black Series, the new Black Series packaging, this like connecting mural of the characters. And I see so many people post their collections with this wall of continuing artwork. Is there anything like this is like a Darth Sidious level deception. Like nothing like this is not what you collect action figures for. A continuing printed picture across the packaging.
It's a crappy VHS box set when you do it like that. It's like you're not, the whole purpose is lost.
This is Star Trek the motion picture 5 movies or 6 movies where they make the Enterprise across the side. Like, this is nuts. You're talking about action figures that were designed from head to toe with probably 50 parts, and you're collecting them to assemble a picture of the characters on the side. No greater form of madness has ever been described. This is just insane, and there's no set number for each movie. Like, you need to I don't care if your marriage is going great, seek counseling if you're collecting this way and presenting them along this way, because you need to open these things up. This packaging still, I'll give you, this packaging is better than it used to be, where it was
this numbers.
I felt like calling social services on the people who collected Black Series and just put the numbers in a row. Like, those guys you got to watch out for. But this is a little bit better than that, but it's basically the same thing, where they're trying to trick you with the packaging that you need every single figure because 10% of Admiral Akbar's arm goes onto the next card back. This is ridiculous. The figures are still better than the packaging, so just buy vintage collection, people. But go ahead, Zach. I've been ranting for a couple minutes.
Chris, is there anybody buying Black Series for the packaging out there? Do you really think there's anybody buying it for that?
I could send you photos you would not believe.
No, whoa. I'm not saying that they're not enjoying it. I'm saying, are they buying, like, is there a figure, like, in the middle of the, I don't know, Return of the Jedi, like, mural that they really don't want? They're just like, damn it, I gotta complete the picture or else.
Oh, you think they're playing into people's autism when they look at their bookshelf and they're missing like Greedo's left nostril or whatever? Like, no, they have to have them all.
No.
Russ, do you know what people you're talking about? Of course they're playing into that. It's literally I'm talking 10%, if not less, of Admiral Akbar's arm goes onto the next figure. And it's like, it's criminal. It really is. And this is not action figure collecting. Like I understand vintage collection, mint on card collecting, because it's about the card art. You can at least see the figure. But like, if you're lining up Black Series figures on a bookshelf so you can only see the side of the box, like, listen, I know some of you guys aren't allowed on Facebook. Your parents won't let you on Facebook. That's fine. But listen, if you're allowed on Facebook, I'm telling you, please, you can find me. Just find the Knights of Vader Facebook group, message me. I will personally give you advice that you should not collect in this way, because it is crazy.
Just to establish, she's the one not posting Kramer memes. Not posting Kramer memes. I've got
the other
more.
thing is, when you have all of the Black Series figures all together, it gives you a cryptic message that says, I have all your money.
Drink more Star Wars.
Don't get me wrong. I think the figures are good. I think it's funny that some people think the 3 3/4 new Boba Fett's look better than the Black Series ones. Like, that gives me joy. That brings joy, as you would say a couple years ago. But seriously, don't collect in that way, because, like, if you want to talk about artistry, it takes a couple hours to make a 2D picture of Admiral Akbar in monochrome green. It takes a lot longer to make the figure. So, like, you got to be looking at the right part of the artistry, guys.
Oh, I think I see what you're talking about now that I'm looking at
Zenger's
these.
just, after 10 minutes, Zenger's like, oh, so this is what you've been talking about.
He's gonna start realizing he's missing a bunch of figures. I
know I am.
He's like, wait a minute, mural time. I'm getting on eBay.
Zenger starts hearing the Pokemon theme song. Gotta catch 'em all. Black Series, fun.
I got 4 and 10. Might be missing a few.
Zenger's looking at the armor and Bo-Katan in real time.
Wait, hold on. Wait. No. Hold on. See, look, I've matched up the arms. It works. Leave me alone.
Zenger's just like sold.
I did it.
I'll make him kiss.
Zenger's been playing a lot of Halo Infinite. We had a Halo-ish location in this current episode.
Oh, no. Not only do we have a Halo-ish location, during one of the championship games, we got our first look at a full trailer for Halo on Parent. I was like, this looks fine. Whatever. Mandalorian did it better. Anyways.
That is exactly the problem. This looks fine. What have we come to where that's our expectation?
Listen, you need to set the bar low. When your toys make a mural and you're upset because they don't line up properly, I don't know where I was going with this, but I can hear Zach laughing hysterically in the background.
I stand by my convictions. I don't have a single Black Series figure that is sealed in box with the mural packaging. Not one. All right, so like, let's get it, not get it
I'm
twisted.
pretty sure it would catch on fire if Chris brought it into his house.
But anyway, Zenger, you know, they must have clearly worked on this episode well in advance of the release of Halo Infinite. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out that there are two things in this episode that are shown on this sort of Von Braun ring that were also shown for the first time in Halo Infinite, which is pretty interesting to me. It's the fact that you have this hyper active day-night cycle, which was never shown in Halo before, which is in Halo Infinite, where you see the sunrise and sunset moving
over the ring
super fast while Mando's walking, right? Like, so that's something for in a Halo game, that's the first time that happened was 2 months ago, which is interesting timing to see it in this episode like that, where they did put a lot of focus on the sort of horizon line moving really quickly as Mando was like limping through the streets. And the other thing was the sort of bottom of the ring that just dropped into space, which is the first time you saw it was in this new game too, which
no railings.
Yeah, it did seem mildly coincidental to me. And you do got to wonder, because the idea of a Von Braun ring is that because it spins, it generates its own artificial gravity because the centrifugal force is sort of pushing everything from the center outwards. It's almost as if it's like a plausible science fiction design. Whereas Star Wars, you have things like the Death Star, which is essentially a giant skyscraper built level upon level, where there's no adherence to the natural laws of physics whatsoever, and they just have some sort of magical artificial gravity where everything goes down. But it's just interesting to see something that's sort of well motivated, scientifically speaking, in Star Wars. You know what I mean?
You know, something else that is well motivated that goes along with the same premise as this. Nidavellir. Zach, one of Zach's favorite movies, Infinity War, had the circle around a star used to smith great weapons such as Stormbreaker in the titular movie Infinity War. Avengers No Way Home.
I'm glad anybody cares about what I said.
Chris is just like, I'm glad that my diatribe was
I just wanted to get in. I just wanted to get in the fact that I wanted to get another reference.
Chris, you must have known, outside of Rob being on this call, no one was going to engage with you on that level. You must have known that.
No, I mean, it is really cool. It's something to where scientific stuff like that is really cool to see. And it's something that I probably noticed subconsciously, but I wasn't paying super close attention because, once again, I watch these at 3 a.m. So my alertness to detail is wavering at times.
What I wanted from this was like, listen, in the old Republic, we didn't have artificial gravity. So this space station's like 6,000 years old, and we had to use centrifugal force to generate artificial gravity in the old Republic. But now we figured it out.
Don't be surprised if this is maybe a relic of High Republic era. Clearly, like, they're doing that now, even with the Galactic Star Cruiser.
High Republic era is too recently for the discovery of artificial gravity.
That's what you think until they decide to retcon.
Yeah, but the artificial gravity applies to spaceships like the Millennium Falcon. Like, you can't, like, if they didn't have it in High Republic, it would be obvious already.
Don't make me say the High Republic phrase that pays. Star Wars without the wars.
Wait, are they floating around really in the High Republic? I might actually start reading these.
Actually, in the High Republic, what is it? Hyperspace lanes don't truly exist, and they're super dangerous to use.
Well, that's the entire impetus is the fact that like the Mad Max guys like hijack hyperspace lanes.
Ooh.
Get out of here, Zenger. Get out of here.
I know, and if I could be convinced to care even a little bit. Exactly. I'm making people bored just thinking about it.
Zenger, what's the next Star Wars book you're excited to read?
Well, no, none. I want to say, as far as that goes, like, even if you're super hardcore, you don't Star Wars fan, you don't really think about hyperdrive lanes ever to base an entire thing off of the concept of inventing those. Like, wasn't it glad those were invented? Like, those were invented.
But that's a weird thing about like Disney era Star Wars that we never focused on prior. Was that like think about like Solo's entire thing is about like the mapping run for like the Kessel Run, and then there's the whole thing with like like in Rebels there was a big thing about fuel.
I thought the ships were magic until then. Like, you know, I know they stick hoses up to them and they got droids and stuff, but you never thought about it beyond that.
You guys are touching on something very important here, and you know we have. If we go back to our original sacred texts, we have a line related to hyperspace lanes in the original Star Wars, where it implies that it's not quite so easy that whimsical, force-sensitive children should be making up these hyperspace lanes, where Han Solo says that without precise calculations, you could bounce into a star. So he implies that when you're traveling at light speed, physical interactions between objects matter. So it's like basically you should have a very precise calculation or you'll just be dead and you won't even know what happened.
Well, yeah.
Hold on.
And that's the whole thing that happens even in the Last Jedi. Like the whole idea that like the First Order figured out how to like, oh God, what? The hyperspace tracking and like pretty much like figuring out like where the jump points were.
I just realized that what I said makes it reasonable that there was a physical interaction between what's her face from Jurassic Park and the Snoke's Star Destroyer, and that bothers me slightly.
I'm not laughing at Chris's line. I'm laughing at the Zenger laugh.
Chris, are you calling out one of the Thrawn books with that statement about kids?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, Skywalker. No, I was like, he's being very oddly specific with this, and if he's just doing this off the top of his head, my God, maybe he's force sensitive.
No, but you know, Zenger, I probably referenced it because I heard you talking about it, not because I read it.
Oh, it's probably me and Zach just rambling about the Thrawn trilogy, the good Thrawn trilogy at one point, and in some days of book reading, we're both
Zenger,
like, oh, it's awesome.
Zenger, even though it doesn't exist and it's completely unsanctioned, the Zeng Wars podcast, have you ever considered doing like the OG Thrawn trilogy?
Oh my gosh, it's almost like if we actually covered the new Thrawn first book and graphic novel, it'd be great to talk about that at some point.
That's way less interesting than the OG Thrawn trilogy.
I know, but Ellie just has to read a goddamn graphic novel, and I read an entire book series twice.
Okay, so I hear you. I don't want to torture you guys any further with sort of toy discussion, but I got to get one.
Oh my God.
He's like Zack hit a nerve.
I forgot this was the toy section of the episode.
We're gonna forget the Thrawn. We're gonna forget the Thrawn stuff, but I got to bring it back to collectibles for 1 second because I got to. Yeah, because we're gonna. Because I got to get this in before you guys ended abruptly on me because I start going on some political diatribe about like why the current narratives are like terrible. But like I got the serious hookup because that has no talent guy that I got that Chrome Razor Crest from.
It's the guy who keeps using the image repeatedly without ever crediting us.
Yeah, he put up these black Chrome Dark Troopers, which are pretty awesome. But he posted them like you have to buy 2 or you don't get any. So you had to buy 2. You had to buy 2 to get 1 to get any. So good buddy from Acquired Taste Industries, another custom figure producer, went splits with me on one. And like I know you can't. It's hard to see it on this, but like this thing is definitely better than anything coming out from Hasbro these days. Like the detail's amazing. The paint is beautiful. You have a sort of environmentally unfriendly, beautiful chrome effect on the thing. It kind of looks like how it does in The Mandalorian Season 2, and it's 5 POA, but it just looks intimidating as anything.
Looks like a bootleg Vader figure that you'd see on some weird Mexican packaging or something.
But what are the Dark Troopers besides bootleg Vaders? You know,
Dark Swordmen or something.
Correction, bootleg Iron Men. How much were these? Like how much was he charging for 2?
I think it was something like $75 US. Yeah,
that's not horrible.
But times 2.
Wait. Whoa, hold on a sec. So $150?
You got that right, sir.
That is literally insanity.
Whoa,
That is,
whoa.
wait. So what
Whoa.
Russ is trying to say is you spent $75 on that bootleg Vader figure?
Hey, you know, a lot of people.
Plus, how much did that box of cereal cost you? I'm pretty sure it wasn't $75.
It was $5. This episode 2 cereal. We'll be eaten probably on this show, not by me, but maybe by someone at some point.
At one point, we're gonna mash it up and put that in Zenger's like protein bottle. He goes to the gym. He's like, "Wow, this whey tastes like this is not the whey." It's like,
Whoa.
ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Wow.
Russ, if you mail 1/5 of it to each of us, I will reimburse you for the shipment costs, and then we'll have a nice episode out of that.
We will all get a collective episode of food poisoning on Knights of Vader in roughly a month.
I think I could be investigated by the FBI for sending this over state lines and over Canadian border. Like, you know, I don't know
It's a
what is
phone
kind
call
of
from
active
Interpol.
ingredient is in this.
This week on
What is
Knights
it?
of Vader, crowdfunding Russ's bail.
Now that you mention it, a coworker once asked me to bring him back a box of Super Mario cereal from the United States back to Canada, and they dusted it and it had traces of explosives on it, so I wasn't allowed to bring it back.
Perfect.
Can you imagine what a 20-year-old box of Attack of the Clone cereal has on it? Especially that Christopher Lee portion.
Oh, wait a second. That's Attack the Clone. No, don't give that to me. Everything I've said about it, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be razor blades.
Oh, but you love it. There's a clone helmet, marshmallow, a Yoda.
No, it has to do with Attack of the Clones. No, you give me some.
Has a Sifo Dyas shaped marshmallow as well.
What does that
No, that's
look
the
like?
Yoda.
Who
That's the
knows?
Yoda marshmallow that just melted from time.
Zenger's like, which one
Yoda's
was
supposed
that?
to be 900 years old, not the cereal. What is that? Is it a paint job on that Dark Trooper, or is that actual plastic that's chrome?
It's unlike anything that is currently being produced. It's definitely
Yeah, it's $75 a piece. It better be.
No, I'm just asking if it's like a chrome paint job or
it's a chrome paint job. It's not actually made of metal, but it's like it's got that and it's got a secondary wash on it. I'll put a good picture of it in the Facebook group for those of you who are in there, and if you're not in there, you should join it. But yeah, it was expensive. What do you want? Do you want that, or you want the 75th version of General Lando that they put out in 2011 and they're repackaging it?
Excuse me. I am too busy buying copious amounts of Princess Leia from the Black Series, A New Hope.
Which one is that, Zach?
I don't know. I've lost track of how many re-releases. There was an awkward version from like 5 years ago where she had that like puffy face. I want that version.
The Power of the Force
special.
The one Zach's talking about was like the first A New Hope Black Series Leia, which had a very hilarious face at first. But then they said, you know what? You guys are right for memeing us so hard. So when they made the 40th anniversary collection, they changed the face so that it looked a little bit better. But since then, you know what would be inexplicable? If you made a face that everyone made fun of, and then you fixed it, you made a whole new face and re-released that, and then you went back to the first one. Well, that's what Hasbro has done.
I still like the fact they had packaging that actually says the word Skywalker. I still like that exists, and I find it occasionally how many years later. I still can't get over how it's not just one typo in the name. There's 2 typos in the name. And somehow the quality control at that slipped twice.
Yeah, don't sleep on that figure, though. If you see that for discount prices, guys, like yellow leather jacket Luke, like that's a pretty sweet figure. Like if you don't have it, it's probably worth having even in Black Series.
All right, one final question about the Mandalorian season 3 pilot. At the end of the Book of Boba Fett and chapters 7, what do you think the thing that's going to grab us be? At the end of season 1, the Mandalorian, it was Darksaber. Obviously, we all know what the end of season 2 was. What's going to be the thing in this that like grabs the audience?
Jabba's
Han
back to
Solo.
life.
What was your Zenger? What was your joke of one?
Why do you assume it was a joke? But Jabba's alive, and then you hear the line, "No one's ever truly gone."
All right, Russ,
He's under the sand using the Sarlacc as like almost like a reed out of the water. He's breathing under there the whole time. What do I think Boba Fett is going to close a big thing? I think they're going to show the Rancor riding battle. I think it's going to be a Game of Thrones kind of good Rancor ride battle. Watch.
Joe had a good one. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Well, they already said Harrison Ford's going to get de-aged.
Ugh.
Well, that's the rumor. That's the rumor. The rumor is it's like
what? We're just going to get de-aged like original trilogy end of all of these?
Yes.
And he's going to come back and he's going to help him out with the Spice War.
And okay, Chris, what do you think?
I think for better or worse, they spelled it out for us in this episode. You know, for those of you who followed along for years and years and years when canon mattered to some degree, you'll remember that
dark times.
Yeah, you'll remember that Boba Fett became Mandalore in Legends. But it wasn't. It was a long while late in the game. It was actually Boba Fett became Mandalore in 45 after the Battle of Yavin. He was like 70 years old and he became ruler of Mandalore. So I think they're going to do that again. I think they spelled it out for us. He's going to ride the mythosaur. He's going to rule the planet. He's going to have the Darksaber. How we get to that point, I'm not exactly sure, but I think that's where this is going.
What, the Boba Fett, not Din Djarin?
I think they've spelled out for us that it's Boba Fett. Yeah, I feel like that's where what this episode did.
But he doesn't sell as much merchandise as Chrome Boba Fett.
Well, hold on a second. So wait, is the armor going to look at him and be like, "Have you ever removed your helmet, Boba Fett?" And he's just going to sit there, like have like mental flashbacks to like the 15 million times he's removed it, and go, "Yeah, never."
The nice thing about the armor is that she's the leader of a cult who has 2 members.
I mean,
I thought she said 3 at one point, or that the Vizsla guy said there's only 3 of us left, and I'm like, well, where's the other one?
Mando.
He was counting Mando. Okay,
this before he got besmirched and was labeled a heretic.
Also, casted out.
Let's go out on a limb and say there's an edgelord ultimate death dealer version 3rd Mandalorian who's like really extreme. Even then, it's so great that her cult only has 3 members left.
Well, here's the other thing. I mean, it's more than Bo-Katan has.
Is it though? Isn't it the same amount? Like it's like a rival cult of 3 people. Like it's
always
Bo-Katan,
3. They are a guy, 2 chicks. Sometimes a guy and another guy and a chick.
Oh my
but
God.
Never 3 guys and never 3 chicks.
No. How's the race supposed to move on?
Oh my God. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I would love to happen to follow the Katie Sackhoff Bo-Katan model. I'd love to see Amelia Clark like 40 years later in continuity, just looking the exact same way she did. Like when
hole in it.
Harrison Ford just like looks completely different from Alden Ehrenreich, which I know Chris has brought up numerous times. I really just want to see Kira like look identical as she does, like in Solo, like as like a child on Corellia.
I'm calling it now. I agree with Zach. I think we're getting her reveal at the end.
At the very end, the Pike, like Phil Lamar Pike, like turns on the hologram,
and it's going to be her sitting there.
It's going to be her there telling, and she's going to ignite a lightsaber for some inexplicable reason, and she'll tell him. There'll be a twist, like it's like poetry, it rhymes, and she'll be like, "Bring the ship to Dathomir," and it'll be that same like weird like space taxi that all the other Pikes came on. Like what was it, like 3 chapters ago? It'll be
intro of robot legs.
It's like
this will be as a big of a dud as Solo, where you're like, wait, what?
She's gonna say, it was supposed to be Darth Maul, but he put an unfortunate picture out on social media.
Lol.
Wait, is there gonna be a point where they start connecting this? Like, remember what like John Favreau said that like at some point this will all be like connect to the First Order? Like, are we gonna get like baby Domhnall Gleeson like running around? Like come on, just give me some baby like General Hux. Like
you're gonna get Daddy Hux probably.
Yeah,
no, they're often Nowheresville, unknown region. Did you not read Aftermath? Don't.
Okay, how about this? Are we gonna get a point where like we're like Mandalorian goes and visits Big Whiskey and Luke Skywalker, and we see like kid Kylo Ren sitting there like flicking a lighter. Like, are we gonna see that? And like he's just like in like Din Djarin, like it's like he does like a double take. It's like just like continues the walking.
I feel like the fact that they incorporated Luke's body double in this most recent episode is like a signal of some kind. I feel like if that was just like a hookup to that guy for doing all that work and not having his face on screen, I don't know if it would have been as emphasized. I think they're trying to say something with that. I think he's still in the mix.
Oh, Chris, come on! Like considering how like unanimously like well received like Luke Skywalker was, there's no way they're not going to start leaning into this. Like think about that. Like we had Tarkin, we had Leia. Nobody like yes, like what was the joke that Russ made like over a year ago? Somehow it looks more authentic than Mark Hamill did in the holiday special. like come on, like the technology is only getting better. Like I think it's a fait accompli. Like I don't agree with it, but like
yeah, well I don't agree with it either, and I think that you can make all the jokes that you want, but like he looked like I'll go as far as on par with the holiday special Mark Hamill.
The CGI creation almost looks as bad as a horrible makeup job in the late 70s.
Still flying half of Mark Hamill. It's like okay.
All I hope is we get another like 45-minute long clunky documentary of like Mark Hamill wearing a black tablecloth. And they're like, yeah, no, he was there. He was definitely there. See, he's holding the sideshow prop. Like he's there. Trust us.
I don't.
All right. Final question to end this week's episode on. Who would win in a fight, Bo-Katan or the Armorer?
Bo-Katan would definitely get her ass handed to her.
Oh, okay. Joe Yazzo, who would win in a fight? Katie Sackhoff or Emily Swallows? Swallows? I don't know. Is it plural? Swallow? I hope it's swallow. That might have to be edited out. That might have to
trying to be so
out.
good. I'm just be quiet.
He's trying to eat me.
Oh my!
Okay, Joe's
that was
going
a
to
perfect
abstain.
clip.
It's the latter.
Joe's going to abstain from that question. Chris, who would win the fight, Bo-Katan or the Armorer?
Well, we've already seen the Armorer survive a virtually unwinnable scenario, so I'm going to go with her because she has plot armor.
Oh, dang it. He took my joke I was going to make. I'm like, wait, which one has plot armor for this particular episode?
But Katie Sackhoff has the power of immortality.
Due to my strict consumption of social media, I think Katie Sackhoff has publicly contemplated ending her acting career, and I think that has fed into the narrative of The Mandalorian Season 3.
I got a detox for you, Chris, for that kind of diet, by the way.
I saw a retweet of a tweet. What can you do?
Goes right past it. Russ, thoughts?
All right, I'm taking Bo-Katan because she has a jetpack and blasters, and the Armorer has tools. And if they're gonna fight, why fight fair?
No, imagine what she's using tools to do this damage. Imagine if you gave her a real weapon. What she could do.
You melted
That's
all the
not
good
the
ones
way.
down. It's not fair. So,
He melted the spear.
Yeah, to turn it into some toy for a kid.
Yeah,
more
Grogu's
BA is
bondage
that?
gear.
Zenger's like, you know how much that thing is worth? I can get like $450 on eBay for it.
I could dent Boba Fett's helmet with this thing.
There you go. That's how a guy dented it. He's truly a real
go.
Mandalorian.
You got whacked with a goddamn Beskar spear. Best spear.
He got wet with a vest stick.
It's too dangerous to be kept alive. We better melt it down.
What are we gonna do when like Sabine shows up in all this, like in 10 years in the Ahsoka series?
She has too much pathos now. Like she's literally her arbitrarily giving the Darksaber to Bo-Katan is the whole cause for the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah.
Wasn't her entire like plot arc in Rebels that like she felt bad for like abandoning her family because like she created like weapons for the Empire?
Nuclear weapons, yes.
Yep.
So she really done goofed.
Which really like the K2SO cameos.
Can we just briefly talk about Terminator,
man,
Star
great.
Wars?
Great stuff. Loved it. Everything about that scene. Loved it. Nice callback to them.
The interesting thing about that is it's more of a callback to Terminator 3 than any other Terminator.
Kinda. That's the strangest thing. It really is a Terminator 3 callback.
Yeah, like it's like a wide shot with a obviously CGI T-800 marching along the landscape and shooting at literally nothing. And also, can we get some real skulls in this field? Like, oh, you've got Mandalorian helmets in the wreckage. Like Luke picks up and uses a skull as a weapon in Return of the Jedi. Can we get some real skulls just so I feel the gravity of the situation? But anyways, we got Mandalorian helmets because that suffices for skulls in the Disney area, as we've seen in Mandalorian season 1. But the Siege of Mandalore montage, which by the way consists of 2 shots.
All amazing. Got TIE bombers.
You have 2 shots of Imperial assets facing no resistance of any kind. They're flying over and they bomb this whatever the heck this big structure is on Mandalore, which the name of it I can't remember from Rebels.
Spaceball Stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's where the Bengals won. Yeah, but you don't see any resistance. You see these K2SOs shooting at literally dirt on the ground. They're walking in slow motion. They're shooting at nothing. It's like that's a Terminator 3 reference. Here's what I like. Terminator 3, the best Terminator movie, but besides the point, you don't
Cinemoddities is winning, everybody. We've converted a third, much like the armor to our cult.
Zach, I already believed that before I listened to that episode, but you don't know how happy it made me. But anyways,
Zenger's having a stroke. Zenger's not going to survive to the Super Bowl.
But honestly, this is like if they wanted to do a deep cut Terminator reference, they would have had a practical K2SO foot stomping on a skull. But they weren't
on a helmet.
They weren't brave enough to do that, so they did CGI K2SOs like Terminator 3. Listen, Terminator 3 good. Lack of subtlety in your references, not good. That's what I have to say about that scene.
It was almost like the moment of the TIE fighter in the sun in
The Force Awakens.
Would have been Force Awakens. Yeah,
exactly.
It was a little on the nose. Yeah, for sure. But skulls are too spooky for Star Wars. Anyway, moving on.
I got one more thing, Zach. I know you're gonna. I'm gonna football reference. I'm gonna lateral you the ball. Hopefully you can throw a touchdown with this. What would have been better? Think Zenger. What would have been better to have seen there instead of TIE bombers?
Oh, Star Destroyer and atmosphere.
Doing what?
Orbital bombardment to the city.
Oh my God. Oh, why do I not have that?
Good thing we've had an orbital bombardment by Star Destroyers in the last 6 months.
Oh, but a good one, like live action. I need to see it.
But remember, Zenger doesn't like Venators. He doesn't think they're sexy.
No, they're not. We need classic Star Destroyers blowing the crap out of something. Give me that.
They're definitely better than Imperial light cruisers, though. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just technically we got an orbital bombardment. They blew up a ship. Whoop-de-doo. Orbital bombardment by a Star Destroyer will blow up a city.
Yes. R.I.P. Kamino.
Yeah. No, but yeah.
All right. Anything else about the season 3 pilot of The Mandalorian?
No, but I would like to emphasize how much Zinger's most recent comment really encapsulates the plight of the ignorant Star Wars fan. Like, he literally got exactly what he wanted, and he's still disappointed.
What's that thing I found? Like, it's that like oh god, like Chiron for like Fox News. And it was like study : Star Wars fans impossible to please. And it's like, can't really argue with that. Like, giving them exactly what they want, silver platter, yet still complaining.
Hey, we have
get the Star Wars we deserve.
We have established I had the best week ever, and yet I still find a way to complain and poke holes in it.
Oh god. Alrighty, Rush, Joe, any other parting thoughts?
No, that's it. Thanks everyone for listening, and I can't wait to see more Book of Boba Fett. This is what we've been talking about all night.
Anything, Joe?
Actually, you probably got it right there on the head. Right there, you're going to see King Booba on the throne, like King Conan at the end of Conan when he was sitting there by himself on the throne.
Does Boba Fett take a wife in Legends, Chris? Doesn't he?
It was the 90s, so I don't remember.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
Twi'lek.
No, that fat dancer survived the sail barge for sure also. So maybe she comes into play.
Exactly, fact, but he did become Mandalore at like age 74. So like I think that's what's coming.
There's time. He still has time.
He has time.
Oh dear. All right. So
The Bantha.
he has
Bantha's
he has
coming.
time. He has time, but we don't. So conclude this episode of the Knights of Vader Star Wars podcast. Check out the Facebook group, but if your parents won't allow you, check out the Instagram account at KOV Podcast, run exclusively by Chris Porteous.
Could you imagine parents who let you on Instagram but not Facebook?
One's worse.
Yes. If you like what you hear, please rate, review, subscribe to us on iTunes or whatever podcasting platform you're currently listening to us on. Thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. Folks, Rob was supposed to be part of this recording. Can we only imagine where this conversation would have gone if Rob were here to scream about? Lord knows what he was, Chris, excited to talk about? He seemed like looking forward to this discussion until he ran out of credits for his phone bill.
He seemed generally positive, but Rob, as regular listeners will know, Rob was very entranced by the mere fact that Boba Fett was riding a bantha in the previous episode. So let's take that with a grain of salt.
Hey, you're not wrong. All right. If you want to hear more of me, check out the Cinemoddities podcast, where we finally released our Matrix Resurrections episode. I hope Chris is happy at the nearly 4 hours of Matrix talking in that one discussion. But when you're not listening to Knights of Vader or Cinemoddities, Chris, where can people find you?
Follow the Knights of Vader account on Instagram, which is at KOV Podcast. And I know Zack doesn't harp on this much, and maybe he won't like me mentioning it, but would it kill you guys to just hook up a nice, positive Apple Podcast review for Knights of Vader? You should probably do that if you like the show. That's all from me.
All righty, Justin Zenger. When you are not rooting for the Bengals, where do people find you?
You can find me listening to Bengals Booth Podcast. I don't know if it's a good one. I was just looking up Bengals podcast. So check that out. I guess you can listen to
We find
ZengThis.
out it's a bunch of like people who have salacious opinions about things, and Zenger just gave them a free shout out.
Yes, it's a racist Bengals podcast. For sure.
Yeah, perfect. I was going to say the Pat McAfee show, but I've already given them enough shout outs. And he god dang needs it. He is, I think, a Spotify. No, not Spotify.
I have never seen
the other one on Sirius.
I've never seen a tiger striped Confederate flag before. It's a very interesting looking show. So I'll check it out.
No, you can of course find me on ZengThis. You can find me rooting for the Bengals at my office, not at the Super Bowl. God, I wish. GoFundMe, get Zenger to the Super Bowl.
Never too late to donate $20 to the Zenger.
Need to go.
Zenger, when we get that No Way Home discussion?
As soon as we get the Thrawn discussion, which is God.
Russ, what is the Unbelievers podcast up to this February?
We'll be returning soon, so check out Unbelievers podcast. We've recorded our first episode for this year. It's coming out really soon, and check it out. I can't see what it's about, but it's a mystery.
Actually, I do have a shout out to give. Thank you, Russ, for reminding me. Check out Adventure Beast on Netflix. Check it out. Watch it. Give it some thumbs up. Russ knows.
Smash that download button.
Showrunner Brian Frangie. Yes. Former host of
give him
podcast.
some. Yeah. Russ wouldn't be here without that man. Well, I mean, he might be. Who knows?
Absolutely not. So definitely.
All righty, Joe. What are you up to?
I'm waiting for the next episode of Book of Boba Fett. See if that Bantha comes around. I don't think the Bantha story has ended.
But will Boba Fett be riding it though?
I don't know. Maybe the Bantha will have babies.
That is Ranker now. He's gonna ride that thing like a mythosaur.
Where's Danny Trejo? Real quick. Who would win in the fight? The Armor or Danny Trejo?
Danny Trejo. He's got machete.
With or without the Rancor.
Let's give him a handicap. Let's say without the Rancor.
He still has machete.
Trejo.
The armor has plot armor, so she wins. But real quick, never forget the fact that there's a video game out there where you play as Malakili and you ride the Rancor who has rocket launchers mounted on his back.
Perfect. Also, I'm 2-1 odds that Rancor eats the bantha.
Damn.
Yeah, Disney got dark.
Sad note. Why are you writing this episode on a sad note, Zenger?
The Tatooine Circle of Life.
The Wheel of Fortune. All righty. Good night, but not goodbye. And as always, Russ, play us out.